What's the deal, everybody? It's your boy Abunas, live on location, chilling right now, handling my business. But I wanted to drop a quick video to share my thoughts on two things: the James Bond controversy, real quick, and also to talk about George Lucas. As far as I was on Odin's movie blog in the chat this morning, and I shouted out my brother, and he was, dropping the science on the identity politics behind the whole female now is going to, they're going to switch it up and make it a James Bond, have James Bond retire, and have the woman, black woman at that, take up the mantle. I don't really know. I mean, I do have my thoughts, and I do think, as much as I love to see diversity in films, I really don't understand why you have to take, and I'm speaking as a black man, trust me, on one side of my brain, I'm like, anybody can be anybody fictionist, that's fictional, because James Bond is a fictional character. So, if it was a real live person, but then again, Ian Fleming kind of, put himself in that role, since he's the author and the creator, and he did live the life somewhat like James Bond. So I guess he could be kind of factual in some respects. But the main point I'm trying to get here is that I don't know why, as much as I love diversity, that they have to, like, it's almost like biblical for these people to appropriate certain characters and stuff that's been in existence for maybe more than 50 years. So the mythology and the character has passed through generation to generation, so to upend it the way that you're doing, it's gonna piss a lot of people off, and rightfully so, and I don't know, well, I know the reason. I mean, social justice warriors, they're all in their feelings, and they want what they want, for their characters, and and for the representation that they claim they're trying to push. Well, all they're doing is creating a divide, I mean, the reputation in and of itself doesn't really mean that much, because you're making this woman into a female James Bond, and she's not going to do half the shit that James Bond used to do. You understand what I'm saying? Because in those days, it would be, James Bond would have been labeled as misogynist, sexist, and, toxic male, and in every sense of the word. Nah, he was smooth. He was a ladies' man, but he was a dangerous agent, not to be fucked with. His intelligence level was beyond high. He had the respect of his peers. He know how to handle gadgets. He was a secret agent. But what all of that entails? That's his history. That's something that all the people that played Bond up until Daniel Craig, they don't deviate but so much from his core being. But now that you're trying to bring in this young lady, to take over from it, that's like a disaster waiting to happen. I don't want to see it, and I know a lot of people don't want to see it either. Because my favorite James Bond, actor to play James Bond is always going to be Sean Connery. And low key, I'm seriously digging George Lazenby's take on it. Seriously, But Roger Moore is immortal, so obviously I'm a child of the 70s. That's why where I grew up. But now that you got this chick going off on a tangent, and like I said, Odin, shout out to you, Big Odin. He really dropped the science on that. It's nothing but identity politics running amok, and it's creating more of a divide, because this is going to get people up in arms, and there's really no reason for it, other than to piss off people that you feel is behind in the times, they need to be progressive, and you could do all of that without having to trample over certain things and certain franchises that's already been established. You really can. You can make this woman Agent 009 or 0015 or something. You could have done either one of those, but you don't have to trample on 007. That's a name brand. That's like Pepsi. That's like Coke. But no respect for histories of franchises that came up before it. Everything is about these new demographics that, quite frankly, they moving from one shit to the next, So this woman be here today, gone tomorrow. And I'm looking at you, Ghostbusters 2016. Now watch when the real Ghostbusters 3 come out and see how people respond to that. And that should tell you the story in a nutshell, you know? Now, like I said, I'm not co-signing to this chick. And like I said, I love my black people and I love my black women. You know, I like to see them in roles that define them, you know, that they can build off of and make it their own. But really, the female James Bond, you know the memes are going to be all over the place. It's already a parody. You can't even take this shit seriously now. So, but like I said, we'll see where the pendulum swings. So the last thing I want to talk to you about, you know, and I'm going to make it quick. You know, because I retweeted something from Salty, from the Salty Nerd, and shout out to you, Salty. You're the man. You know, like I said, I may have a difference of opinion in some respects behind it. You know, but the way that they had what he tweeted, and he made a quote from George Lucas himself, and pretty much. George, you know, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember all of it, but it was deep because he did say that when you make a movie and people criticize you, you know, you don't even make it fun no more, you know, and you know, what's the point of trying to do new things and stuff like that if, you know, if people are going to be so standoffish about it, and he lost the light. And he lost the urge to produce more Star Wars movies behind the backlash that he received behind the prequels, which in many respects was totally unfair. You know, now, you know, the thing is that, well, in the OT, you know, George had people to keep him in check, and he didn't know that this was going to, you know, be a hit and this, that, whatever, and he needed people to keep him honest and yada, 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 and his wife did the editing and everybody, okay, fine. You know, but it did blow up. And truth be told, yeah, even though he had people around him, it's still his story. This is still his creation. That means as an artist who created something, you have the absolute right to do whatever that you will with your work. You see, the same, now some of you little social justice warriors, little sucker for love and little bootlicking bastards running around here, y'all probably might say that you might try to put it on, hey, Abu Nas, see, you kind of like, you know, trip your own self up, because that's the same thing that can be said about the sequel trilogy. You know, what we do in the movie, and why do you gotta bash it, you know, because we made fun. You know, hey, shut the fuck up, all right? You know the difference between Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams fucking up the entire sequel trilogy? Is that they're not the creators of Star Wars. They're not the creators of Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, you know, Lando Calrissian, R2D. They're not the creators of it. Okay? They're fans, or, well, in the case of Rian Johnson, fans of the OT. JJ is a self-proclaimed fan of the OT. He was inspired. Everybody was inspired by it. Everybody. Greatest filmmakers that you like and you want to roll with, they was inspired by George Lucas. James Cameron inspired by George Lucas. Ridley Scott. All these badass directors that you see running around, that's been here, that did the damn thing. Shit, even George Lucas was inspired. Not George Lucas, Steven Spielberg was inspired by it. And that was his peers. So all of that is just to say that if anybody earns the right to make changes in ways that is being creative or making things different, the only one that has the right to do that is George Lucas. But that's not how it's supposed to go. The franchise would be stagnant. It won't continue to grow. It doesn't need to grow. It already grew. That's why we have the EU. The EU that was sanctioned by George Lucas himself to play in that sandbox until such time he wanted to make more movies, and that was the prequels. He didn't touch the EU, what happened after Return of the Jedi. He didn't touch that. That was a sandbox that everybody played in, and he was happy that the people
had so much love for his franchise, for his creation, that they decided to write great stories, continuing the adventures of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, you know, Lando Calrissian, Admiral Akbar, Wedge Antilles, you know, the Sith, the Jedi, all of that. Continued those stories. And we was happy for it. The only thing that you couldn't touch was the prequels and the continuation regarding the Clone Wars. Now, when he sold the thing to Disney, because he didn't want his staff to be without a job, because he didn't want to make any more movies. But he did have ideas for the sequel trilogy. Now, that would probably make some of the EU irrelevant, but that's the creator's right to come back and finish on his work, should he choose to do it. That's a creator's right. And what are we going to say? No, George Lucas, the heir of the Empire and the Yongzheng War and the Legacy of the Force, those are great movies. No. Great books. No. I need to finish telling my story. That's George Lucas. He's alive. He has his faculties together. He has a story to tell, and he has the right to tell it in any way, shape, or form that he sees fit. It's his story. I have to keep reminding people that as much as we love Star Wars, as much as we love this, and knowing what certain things we have in our head, and I myself included, I put my name in that, you know. There's certain things that I would like to see, or certain things that I dream about, whatever. But if George Lucas puts it down, he's telling his story. I have to I may not have to necessarily agree or what have you, but I would respect it because that's the creator. And being a creator means that you have the right, once again, to tell the story in any manner you see fit. Especially since he built the company off of that. With our help, but that's out of love and appreciation for what he gave to us. And now, dare I say, with everything that happened with the sequel trilogy, here we are. We're looking at the prequels with brand new eyes, knowing damn well that the creator still had it right the first time. Certain story choices, maybe people, would like to see different dialogue, and this, we all heard the stories and we all know what it is. But it goes back that he told his story the way he wanted to tell it. It's canon until Disney figures out a way to try to wreck that. But for all of us that do have episodes 1 through 6, the 2 Clone Wars and Rogue One, for those that like it, the saga is complete. There's nothing that Disney has done in a sequential since 2015 that all the way up to 2019 will tell us that they did an absolute great job with George Lucas's work. No. If anything, they bastardized it and they tore it down in a manner that's, quite frankly, to me, is totally disrespectful. But this is where we at now. You see me on, other people's YouTube channels. You see me on my channel. I'm saying the same thing I'm always going to say. When it comes to Star Wars, this thing is sacred. Like my brother Lord Callis said, this shit is ingrained in me. And he got it right. For all of us that love this franchise for what it actually did and what it actually created for us, a lifelong passion for this franchise, this shit is ingrained. We got our children into it. And then our children's children. This is generational. It doesn't need to be messed with. If you want to have new characters for the new people out there, you can have them. Just don't trample on the legacy of the characters that came before it. And unfortunately, that's what happened with the sequel trilogy. So there's nothing for you to gain with the Panda Fest that is to come. Pandering to everybody and their mama to try to give us that right flavor that they should have had since episode 7. The legacy heroes cannot be outshined in no way, shape, or form. As long as Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Billy D. Williams, And unfortunately, now that we lost Carrie Fisher, may God rest her beautiful soul forever, as she's one with the Force, you cannot outshine the legends. But that's what Disney, Star Wars tried to do. They tried to outshine the legends. And they failed miserably. Miserably. So, you know what it is? It's all-out war between the fandom. The old versus the new. The new is not going to bring in the big bucks like they think they're going to do. But we'll see. I already know. If the old heads like me, you already fed up, then there's nothing really more to say. We're going to lock this shit down. We're going to boycott this shit to the highest degree. And for those that still want to see it by other means, man. You don't necessarily have to give your money to them. You really don't. If you're trying to do it, like I said, I'm going to see it and I'm going to review it for my subscribers. You can do the same thing. You just don't have to give them no money. And like I said, man, if you need to, come holler at your boy Abu Nas. I'll hook you up. But the bottom line is, this is a train wreck waiting to happen. They can put all the pretty pictures and Knights of Ren and give you lightsaber combat, the shit that they didn't give you in the last two films. And no, I don't count Kylo Ren, fighting Super Mary Sue Ray and she beating him as an actual proper fight. No, he's more trained than that than her, but obviously the chick is magical. She could do it all. But I digress. That's going off in a different direction. My main thing is that picture of George Lucas sitting at a table, eating something with a can of Coke, looking very sad and dejected, really, really, really hit me right here. Because we did ourselves a disservice by giving the maker grief over his creation and how he put it down. We are now reaping what we sow, literally, because it forced him, or it prompted him to sell the company to Disney, thinking that nothing that he did was ever going to be good enough for the fans. And in hindsight, what he did with the prequels was more than good enough for the fans. It showed us what exactly the Disney sequel trilogy was lacking in every fashion. I don't know. I really don't know, but I will let it be known that for people like myself that's been here since '77, I don't need nothing else but the movies and the sanctioned saga that is the EU that was blessed by him. I don't need anything else anymore. Disney already proved that. I don't need it. They already proved to me that they don't have a handle on anything. So, fuck them. That's how I feel. That's how I'm always gonna feel. So, Abu Nas, so you really not gonna? No, I'm not gonna do it. Fuck them all. It's just like that, straight like that. You don't like it? That's your problem. Deal with it. I don't feel. I mean, if I will have to, I'm gonna defend the Phantom Menace to my dying breath. But outside of that, if you like that piece of shit, go right ahead, have a ball. It's for you anyway, so go ahead, have a ball. As for me, my Star Wars saga is complete, and the continuation and stories of Luke Skywalker and the merry band that we call the OG legacy characters, it's secure. It's secure and will always be secure forever. So thank you for allowing me to rap to you for a little bit, and hopefully you all have a wonderful afternoon and evening, and I will be seeing you soon. This is your brother Abu Nas, getting ready to sign off. Big shout out to the Phantom Menace, every and anybody that's that's standing up and making your voices heard. As far as anything else I'm putting together, I'll be around, trust me. But I got certain things I got to take care of. But other than that, your brother's here for the long haul. Trust me. Outside of that, be good to yourself and to each other.